They're used to you saying sorry, even when you weren't wrong. Sorry for speaking up. Sorry for reacting. Sorry for not tolerating disrespect quietly. I didn't wake up one day and decide to become cold. I became cold because warmth was taken for granted. I didn't become distant for fun. I stepped back because closeness was abused. Why should I apologize? They want an apology not because they were hurt. They want an apology because they lost control. Let's be honest. People don't miss your kindness. They miss the access. They don't miss your presence. They miss your availability. And when you remove that access, suddenly you're changed. Suddenly you're selfish. Suddenly you're the problem. Funny how that works. You tolerated disrespect for years. Nobody apologized. You stayed silent to keep peace. Nobody thanked you. You carried emotional weight that wasn't yours. Nobody noticed. But the moment you stop, now they want accountability from you. Why should I apologize? For refusing to bleed quietly? They say you hurt me, but they never say I ignored you. I dismissed you. I crossed your boundaries. They only notice pain when it's theirs. I apologized enough for being too sensitive, for expecting basic respect, for wanting honesty. I'm done apologizing for having standards. You see, apologies are powerful, and power shouldn't be wasted on people who never valued it. They want you to apologize so things can go back to how they were, but how they were was never fair to you. They want the old version of you, the one who explained, the one who forgave quickly, the one who stayed even when it hurt. That version is gone, and no apology will bring them back. You didn't become heartless. You became selective. You didn't become rude. You became honest. You didn't become difficult. You stopped being easy to use, because when you stop apologizing for existing confidently, you stop being controllable. Accept the disrespect again. Let it go. What they mean is, forget what we did, so we don't have to take responsibility. No, growth isn't about being silent. Growth is about knowing when silence is self-betrayal. Why should I apologize? For protecting my peace? They confuse forgiveness with access. You can forgive someone and still never let them close again. That's maturity. You don't owe explanations to people who never listened. You don't owe apologies to people who never changed. You don't owe softness to people who taught you hardness. They don't want to hear. Your apology won't heal them. It will only make them comfortable again. And comfort is dangerous when it's built on your silence. You've got an ego now. No, I've got boundaries. You think you're better. No, I think I deserve better. You should be humble. Humility doesn't mean self-destruction. For outgrowing spaces that tried to shrink me, I don't apologize. For choosing distance over disrespect. For no longer explaining my worth, because here's what I learned. People who truly respect you never demand apologies for your boundaries. Only those who benefited from your silence do. So let them be uncomfortable. Let them be confused. Let them rewrite the story to make themselves feel better. You don't need to correct it. Peace doesn't require defense. And if they walk away because you stopped apologizing, loss is only painful when it removes something valuable. You didn't lose them. They lost access to you. Why should I apologize for becoming someone who refuses to be disrespected? I won't. And that's the most powerful answer I can give. Why should I apologize for surviving what almost destroyed me? You know what hurts them the most. Not your anger, not your distance. Your calm. Because calm means you're no longer seeking approval. Calm means you're no longer begging to be understood. Calm means you already made peace with losing them. They want you emotional. They want you reactive. They want you explaining yourself again and again. Because explanation is a form of submission. But when you stop explaining, when you stop defending your decisions, when you stop proving your pain, that's when the power shifts. For learning that lesson the hard way, you've changed. Of course I did. Staying the same would have killed me. They benefited from the old you. The version that forgave too fast. The version that doubted itself. The version that stayed loyal even when disrespected. So tell me, honestly, why should the healed version apologize for the wounds it didn't create? They want closure. But closure is a privilege. And privileges are earned. You don't owe closure to people who cause confusion. They want one last conversation. One last explanation. One last apology. Not to understand you. To feel superior again. To walk away thinking they still mattered enough to make you kneel emotionally. That's why silence feels cruel to them. Because silence doesn't bow. I used to think being strong meant enduring. Taking hits. Smiling through disrespect. Calling it patience. No, that was fear dressed as loyalty. Real strength is walking away without burning the bridge. And without begging anyone to follow you. For finally choosing strength over suffering? Let's talk about guilt. They trained you to feel guilty for reacting to what they did repeatedly. They crossed lines. You reacted. That's manipulation. They poke. They provoke. They push. And when you finally snap, they step back and say, see, this is who you really are. No, this is who you become when pushed too far. Why should I apologize for reaching my limit? Limits exist for a reason. They protect what matters. You didn't lose your kindness. You just stopped giving it away to people who mistook it for weakness. You're cold now. No, I'm focused. You don't care anymore. No, I care about the right things now. You're heartless. No, I just stopped bleeding bleeding in public, because a person who no longer bleeds can't be controlled. They want your apology to reopen the door, to step back into your life, like nothing happened. But something did happen. You woke up, you saw patterns, you connected dots, you noticed how your pain was always inconvenient for them, so you chose distance. And distance feels like betrayal to people who relied on your closeness. Why should I apologize for choosing clarity over chaos? Let me tell you something they'll never admit. They respected you more when you stopped chasing them. They just didn't like it. Respect and comfort rarely exist together. Your silence forces them to sit with their own actions. Your absence removes the distraction. That's why they call you arrogant, because accountability feels like insult to people who never take responsibility. I'm not arrogant. I'm done negotiating my worth. I'm not cruel. I'm honest enough to walk away without pretending it didn't hurt. And I'm definitely not apologizing for refusing to repeat the same lesson twice. You see, apologies lose meaning when they're forced, and power loses meaning when it's begged for. I don't need them to understand me. Understanding is optional. Respect is not. If they couldn't respect you when you were kind, they don't deserve access. Now that you're strong, for evolving past the version they could control, let them say whatever helps them sleep. Let them believe their version of the story. You don't need to win the narrative to win your life. Some people are meant to remember you as the villain because they can't accept they were the problem. Villains don't beg for forgiveness. They move forward. You don't owe the past an apology. You owe the future your strength. So no, I won't apologize. Not for my boundaries, not for my growth, not for my silence. Because the moment I stopped apologizing for existing as, I became free. Ask yourself that again, slowly, without fear. Why should I apologize for surviving a war I never started? They talk like your silence is violence, like your boundaries are betrayal, like your healing is arrogance. But nobody talks about what it took to get here. Nobody talks about the nights you questioned your worth because of what they said casually. Nobody talks about the times you swallowed disrespect just to keep the peace. Nobody talks about how often you blamed yourself for someone else's behavior. They remember the version of you that was convenient, the version that stayed quiet, the version that overgave, the version that kept apologizing even when you were bleeding. They don't recognize this one because this version doesn't chase closure. This version doesn't explain decisions. This version doesn't beg to be understood. This version walks away without slamming the door, and that hurts worse than anger. Why should I apologize for becoming someone they can't control anymore? You see, people don't hate change. They hate losing access. Access to your time, access to your energy, access to your emotions. They were comfortable when you were predictable, when you'd forgive, when you'd return, when you doubt yourself. Now you don't. Now you observe. Now you listen more than you speak. Now you choose distance over drama. No, you're calm, and calm is dangerous to manipulative people because calm doesn't argue. Calm doesn't justify. Calm doesn't react. Calm watches. Why should I apologize for learning self-control after losing myself too many times? They want emotion from you because emotion makes you reachable. Anger, sadness, guilt, those are doors, and you close them. So now they provoke. They poke old wounds. They bring up the past. They twist memories, hoping you'll explode, hoping you'll cry, hoping you'll prove you're still the same person, but you don't. That silence destroys egos, because silence says, I see you clearly now. Why should I apologize for seeing the truth? You think you're better than us. No, I just stopped thinking I was less. That's the part they can't forgive. They want humility, but what they really want is submission disguised as humility. They want you small, grateful for crumbs, thankful for bare minimum respect. You demand more. They call you ungrateful. Funny how that works. Why should I apologize for raising my standards after being treated like an option? Let's be honest. If you were still useful to them, they wouldn't be upset. They'd be comfortable. Your growth exposed their intentions. Your boundaries exposed their entitlement. And now they want an apology to restore the old balance. But balance built on your pain was never balance. It was sacrifice. And sacrifices don't apologize for stepping off the altar. You don't owe peace to people who thrived in your chaos. You don't owe softness to people who weaponized your kindness. You don't owe explanations to people committed to misunderstanding you for choosing peace over familiarity. They say time heals everything. That's a lie. Time reveals. It reveals patterns. It reveals intentions. It reveals who respected you and who tolerated you until you stop being convenient. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to laughing at disrespect. You can't go back to shrinking yourself. You can't go back to to apologizing for having limits. Growth is irreversible. That's why they call you distant, because distance is the cost of clarity. Why should I apologize? For refusing to unlearn what saved me? You changed without warning. No, you warned them every time. You stayed silent. Every time you swallowed pain. Every time you chose peace over confrontation. Silence is a warning people ignore until it becomes distance. That's what scares them. Not losing you, losing control over you. There will be no apology. Not for the nights I healed alone. Not for the strength it took to walk away. Not for the calm that replaced my chaos. I didn't become heartless. I became selective. Villains don't beg for acceptance. They move forward without permission. The strongest apology is living well without explaining yourself, and the loudest answer to their confusion is your peace.